Before we get any further, this video contains spoilers for The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 1. If you haven't seen it yet, we highly recommend you head on over to Disney Plus and watch it before continuing with the video. If you're all caught up, or just don't care, let's dive right in. This week kicks off the much anticipated third season of The Mandalorian, and the season definitely started strong. In just under 40 minutes, we got to see several beloved characters return, like Mando himself, Grogu, and even Lady Bo-Katan Kryze. The first episode did a good job of reintroducing our protagonist's main goal after his role in the Book of Boba Fett, which is to redeem himself in the eyes of his Mandalorian tribe for having removed his helmet. The armorer confirmed that Din Djarin had to bathe in the waters of the mines of Mandalore to cleanse himself of his transgressions, which is a bit of a problem given how Mandalore was all but destroyed. Seeking more information, he visits the Mandalorian castle on the planet Kalevala to consult with Bo-Katan. When we had last seen her, she'd been amassing a fleet of Mandalorian warriors to retake their ancestral homeworld. In this episode, however, we see her alone and defeated. In today's video, we'll be talking about the history of the Mandalorians after Season 7 of the Clone Wars to explain what really happened that shattered the Mandalorians. In the final season of Star Wars The Clone Wars, we saw Mandalore fall under the rule of Darth Maul and his Shadow Collective. However, in that same season, we saw a team of Republic clone troopers led by former Padawan Ahsoka Tano team up with Lady Bo-Katan Kryze and her Mandalorian resistance to liberate their homeworld. Mandalore was liberated, Bo-Katan was appointed its regent, and Maul's Mandalorian collaborators like Gar Saxon were taken into Republic custody. The Mandalorians were set up to recover, and perhaps they would have if Order 66 wasn't executed mere hours after the siege. Under Palpatine's command, the clones on the planet turned on their allies and occupied the planet. Bo-Katan refused to obey the Empire, so Gar Saxon was installed as leader of Mandalore. Although many other Mandalorians still believed Bo-Katan to be their rightful leader, the siege and civil war had left them tired and weak. Instead of beginning yet another civil war, they submitted to Saxon's pro-Imperial rule. With the help of a cadre of Imperial super commandos, Saxon controlled the Mandalorian clans for over a decade. In Star Wars Rebels, we learned about Sabine Wren, a Mandalorian of Clan Wren who had built a super weapon that specifically attacked and killed warriors wearing Beskar. After Saxon used it on Mandalorians, Wren forsook the Mandalorians and escaped to fight the Empire after destroying her creation. In 2 BBY, after she and her rebel cell encountered Maul for the upteenth time, she took the Darksaber from him. The Darksaber was an ancestral Mandalorian blade said to be wielded by Mandalore. Bearing the blade gave its wielder the power to claim leadership over the Mandalorian clans. Sabine thought that, with it, she could unite the clans and take the fight to the Empire. Saxon didn't take kindly to that claim to his authority. A civil war broke out between Clan Wren and Clan Saxon. Sabine and her clan eventually allied with Bo-Katan Kryze. Together, they destroyed the new superweapon Saxon had built based on Sabine's old design, one he had intended on unleashing on their people. The two clans created a resistance, which Bo-Katan was chosen to lead. Sabine respectfully passed on the Darksaber to the new Mandalorian leader. This is where Din Djarin's Mandalorian clan, the Children of the Watch, broke off fully from the other Mandalorians. You see, the Darksaber is supposed to pass from one hand to the next by combat. Bo-Katan accepting it as a gift spat in the ways of old, and so the Children of the Watch abandoned her. This is where Rebels left off. The note was optimistic, and many viewers who didn't know what was coming probably thought the Mandalorians were about to make a comeback. Unfortunately, however, the story didn't end happily ever after. In this week's episode, Bo-Katan referenced the Purge. It's not the first time she brought it up in The Mandalorian, but it was never discussed in detail. Fans are led to assume it's the reason the Mandalorians are so scattered, but with the decades jumped between Clone Wars Season 7 to Rebels to The Mandalorian, there are many gaps left in Mandalorian history, and we're here to try and fill them. When Bo-Katan, armed with the Darksaber and followed by many Mandalorian clans, fought back against the Empire around 2 BBY, the Empire realized that they had lost control of their assets. And, as most totalitarian empires do, when they realized they couldn't use the Mandalorians anymore, they sought to destroy them. It's unclear what year it happened precisely, but sometime between 2 BBY and 4 ABY, the Empire launched the Great Purge of Mandalore. Led by Moff Gideon, Imperial forces converged on Mandalore and carpet-bombed the planet on the night of 1,000 tears. The destruction was immeasurable. On that night, a large contingent of TIE bombers swooped down and destroyed all of Mandalore's cities, collapsing its ancestral mines, where Beskar had been mined for generations in the process. Security droids and Viper probe droids followed behind the TIEs, executing any survivors. Gunships gunned down entire legions of Mandalorian recruits. Fusion rays crystallized the surface into hard glass. Mandalore and the Mandalorians were destroyed. The planet was left a barren wasteland. Landscape collapsed inwards and crystallized into glass. The world was thought poisoned, rendered uninhabitable by the Imperial bombardment. Any Beskar the Imperials found was seized and turned into ingots. And the Mandalorians fared little better. The Night of 1,000 Tears had resulted in a near genocide of their people. Almost every Mandalorian on the planet had been slain. Moff Gideon had taken the Darksaber from Bo-Katan, but she and some of her people had managed to escape the planet. Din Djarin's tribe, the Children of the Watch, were safe, as they had been cloistered on Concordia, a nearby moon. In the aftermath of the Purge, very few Mandalorians were left alive, and those that were scattered throughout the galaxy. The Mandalorians were broken, and things didn't improve much after the Empire fell. This is where the Mandalorian picks up. Din Djarin, believing himself to be a true warrior of Mandalore, grows up in the zealot cult of the tribe, led by the Armorer. Eventually, he comes into contact with Bo-Katan Kryze and her clan, now reduced to a gang. Despite their resounding loss, Bo-Katan and her warriors still believed in Mandalore. They dedicated their efforts to gathering fleet and supplies so they could return to their ancestral world and reclaim it. With Djarin, they took down Moff Gideon, seeking to reclaim the Darksaber for the Mandalorians. When it was Djarin who took it by right of combat, however, Kryze had to step back. She had meant to take it from him and use it to unite her people once more, but the saber had to be passed on through combat. The last time, she had received it as a gift, and it led the Mandalorians to their ruin. That was why she declined the gift of the Darksaber. Djarin left with it and went on to help Boba Fett stake his claim as daimyo of Tatooine. In the meantime, however, Bo-Katan's forces scattered. Seeing her failure to obtain the Darksaber as an omen or as a sign of her weakness, the Mandalorians she had managed to unite under her banner scattered once more across the galaxy, reduced once again to mercenaries. Once, Bo-Katan had built a resistance to reclaim Mandalore. Then, she had built one to fight the Empire. Now, her forces had gathered to reclaim their world, and she had failed. Her people were scattered and broken, and with them, she was too. Once, she had said that she had never been meant as a leader. That had been her sister's role. But she had tried to step up and be the leader her people had needed during their dark times. It was still all for naught. But hope wasn't completely lost. Din Djarin, with an artifact gathered from Mandalore's surface in hand, still had hope Mandalore could be salvaged. With the Darksaber and determination, this season will follow his quest to return to Mandalore and see for himself how far gone their ancestral home really is. For the Mandalorian's sake, we hope he isn't disappointed. What do you think? Did you know about the bloody history of the Mandalorians during the Imperial Era? How do you think this season will go? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.